Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to True Crime, the podcast that helps you find new, emerging, and undiscovered true crime podcasts. I'm Greg, the host and curator of True Crime. Today's episode is from Live, Laugh, Murder. On Live, Laugh, Murder, they tell stories that could either be a plot of a horror film or the facts of a true crime case. All is revealed by the end. If you like today's episode, make sure to check out the episode description for links to subscribe. All right, let's get this show started.
Begin.
You ready, my love?
I'm ready.
I'm.
You are who?
I'm Joanna.
And I'm Carmen.
Such a liar.
I like your laugh.
I'm.
We're so stupid.
So this is Live, Laugh, Murder.
Yes, it is.
Welcome. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Murder, where we tell stories that may or may not be true. We are true crime.
Sometimes.
Ooh, you filled that in. The story you're going to listen to today may be the facts of a true crime case told in a narrative fiction style, or it might be the plot of a horror story.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if you and my co-host, Joanna, can figure it out before the end of our show.
And 50-50, honestly. I think, and we need a tally. Honestly, like
We've been saying that.
I know we say that, and we're on episode 21 now.
23.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do.
What?
My interns, if you're listening, your assignment is to go and listen to every episode.
Every episode.
Just you can go to the last 5 minutes, 10
Mhm.
minutes, and then keep a tally on how I'm correct. And the first one, Amy or Becky, whoever wins.
Wow, you're putting it out there.
Yeah. Whoever gets me the results the fastest, I will give you a treat. A surprise. You're not a dog. A surprise.
What kind of surprise?
I have not decided, but it will be a good one.
Do I get a surprise?
No.
Okay, don't. Why would you click the pen in the microphone?
So people know that I'm ready.
I think we should keep going.
Okay.
I'm really off. So, will you be able to know if our story is real or fake?
We'll
That's
find
the
out.
point.
That is the point.
Before our story, though, I want to give a shout out to one of our patrons.
Ooh.
Today's episode is dedicated to Erica, who has been a patron since the beginning of October.
Yay.
She is a part of our Live, Laugh, Massacre tier, and we just wanted to take a moment to thank you for supporting our teeny little show that we love so much.
Yes,
So
we do.
thank you, Erica. We love you. This is dedicated to you.
Yes.
Joanna, before our story, we
Mhm.
like to talk shit about our state of Florida because we live here and we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, because it is a show.
Do you have a Florida Man segment? Do you have a Florida Man
News
story for me?
Yes, and this is from intern Amy. No, I'm sorry, Becky. She sent this to me.
Becky has been rising in the ranks recently.
I think, yes, and it makes me happy that she still thinks of me. Like, when she hears a story, she's like, Joanna needs this.
That does make me happy.
It makes me happy.
Love you. And Joanna, I'm going to have you take it away.
Oh my gosh.
You sit down.
So far away. Okay, so we have our special guest. We have an intern here. One of our interns, intern Becky, is here to
Woo!
share
Hello.
our Florida Man story.
Since Becky sent this to you,
Yeah, she sent it to me.
we want her to read it.
Go for it.
All right. There was
Do
a
you want to say hi to the world first?
hello world,
This is neighbor Becky.
neighbor Becky.
She has a lot of titles.
I know.
There is a man caught with fentanyl after getting trapped in a porta potty. I can't even.
How does that even happen?
I can't even.
No.
I don't know.
The sounds of a person in pain led a deputy to baggies of drugs over the weekend. He arrived to the home Sunday evening after reports of a suspicious person and what sounded like a person shouting in pain. When the deputy arrived, a man could be heard yelling loudly. As the deputy got closer, she could hear the screams and saw a foot sticking out of the bottom of the porta potty.
How, though?
How? How does that happen? Like, how do you get the door shut?
Why
and your
would
foot-
you choose to go do your drugs in a porta potty?
That's the better question.
Yeah.
This is why we needed you on.
Yeah.
The deputy asked the man to step out of the porta potty and take a seat. The man, identified as James Goose.
Oh, see, I said Gauss.
Gauss,
I don't
Goose.
know.
Oh, I guess it is ow.
Ow.
Said he got his foot stuck in the closed door of the porta potty. The deputy opened the portable restroom and found a small baggie with a powdery substance, a syringe,
Ooh.
and a larger bag filled with other small baggies. The powdery substance tested positive for fentanyl, measuring 0.5 grams. James was arrested and now faces 2 drug charges.
Do you think he smells like poop?
I was going to say he's probably in a better environment in the jail than he was in the porta potty.
True.
So gross.
When's the last time you've done drugs in a porta potty?
I mean, that's a typical Saturday.
I'd say, yeah. I'd say last weekend, you know.
Last weekend?
That's my preferred place of usage.
Well, Becky, we're proud of you.
Yes,
Thank you.
That
you
was
for coming.
great.
Of course.
Good.
Thanks for coming
Keep
on
on
the show.
coming.
Yeah. I'll keep doing my research.
Yes, thank you.
Are you trying to take Amy's spot?
I don't
Intern.
know. I mean,
She's been slacking. Amy has been.
I can be the intern to the intern.
Wow.
The intern's assistant.
Okay, I think you're in competition.
Perfect.
All right, Becky.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks
Becky.
for
Yay!
Thanks for coming. See ya.
Thanks.
Becky, you did a great job.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming. And you know what? And thank you for saving my daughter.
Yeah, that's the real. What's the
That's-
real reason, Becky?
I don't want to talk about it,
But
but you almost threw up.
let's just say Becky has a daughter the same age as Joanna's daughter.
And we needed a costume change.
Sure. There we go.
Okay.
Are you ready for a story today?
I'm ready. Always ready.
I want to ask you a question first, Joanna.
Where was I? I always say the same thing.
How long do you think you can realistically stay awake for?
I thought you were going to say hold my breath.
No.
Realistically, I could probably do 48 hours.
Really? Yeah.
If I had to. Like if I was just at home by myself, but if I was like actively doing something, I could do.
Like a life or death scenario.
Yeah.
Right. I did some research and it seems that the longest a person can stay awake that I found, or the longest a person has been recorded to stay awake was a 17-year-old named Randy Gardner in 1963. Apparently he stayed awake for 11 hours and 25 minutes. I'm
Stayed
sorry.
awake
I'm
11
sorry.
hours.
11 days.
I was gonna say, I literally do that every
11
day.
I typed 11 hours in my notes. 11 days and 25 minutes.
1963. So how did they know to the minute? Like he woke up and he was like, all right, it's 7:32.
I mean, I wasn't there, Joanna.
How would you know? I call BS. Go.
You call BS?
Mhm.
Interesting. Well, that's what I would find. According to the website Medical News Today, if you go 72 hours without sleep, the side effects would include,
Mhm.
what do you think?
I would say delusional.
Yeah.
Being delusional.
Yeah.
Seeing things, going crazy, irritable.
All of that. Paranoia, severe memory issues, depression, difficulty communicating,
Mm-hmm.
all that.
Because your brain needs to rest.
I mean, I've seen Bird Box, that movie with Sandra Bullock.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what this story is.
But that's not.
Oh, wait a second. I'm getting movies
You
mixed up.
are.
Oh, that's not Bird Box.
And
No.
then they literally had to be
No.
blinded.
No,
Or,
no,
like,
no, you're
put the
right,
thing
right,
over
no,
their
no.
eye.
There's a movie on Netflix and it's not this story because I'm telling you. And it's a movie where the people could not go to sleep. Oh, it's so crazy. You should watch it. They were infected with something and nobody in the entire world could fall asleep again.
That sounds
So
terrible.
after days went by, people started going delusional, massacres are occurring, like freaking out, hallucinating, all that.
Sounds terrible.
And then they found a cure.
As they always do.
Okay, that's not the story. So that conversation does lead me to our story today. I want to take you back to Russia in the 1940s.
Love it.
Love it. We love us a 1940s Russia. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant.
Why?
They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas wouldn't kill them, since it was toxic in very high concentrations.
1940s.
1940s. You
People
ask,
did wild stuff back then.
yes. You ask, why did they do this?
Yes.
Military testing.
Okay, but what? Who? Okay.
You're going to have as many questions as I have lack of answers.
Okay.
This was before the time where they could wire a camera to catch the footage of the people in this
This box.
room. So they had only microphones and thick glass, like porthole-sized windows into the room to monitor them.
Okay.
The room, or chamber as it was called, was stocked with books for them to read, cots to sleep on, running water and a toilet, and enough food, like dried food, that could last all 5 of them for over a month if they needed it.
Okay, pause. Did these people volunteer or were
The-
they voluntold?
Russia, 1940s.
Okay, so they were told. Okay.
I'm going to tell you right now. The test subjects were political prisoners.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, weren't volin nothing.
Yeah.
They were told this is what you're doing because you're done anyway. They were deemed enemies of the state at the time.
Yikes.
During World War II. Okay. So they had no other choice. That was it. As we now know, this kind of thing did happen. These kinds of things happened in the past.
Probably still.
Along with many other mysteries that I don't want the government tracking me down for discussing on a public platform.
Agreed.
Russia.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything was fine for the first 5 days of the experiment. 5 days.
Jeez, I couldn't imagine.
Gas stimulant to keep them awake.
Okay.
Everything was fine the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days.
What? Oh. Okay. Gosh. Could you imagine just 1940s?
No.
Listen, if you stay awake for a month, no, go.
Okay. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly, now after as the 5 days are going on, increasingly traumatic incidents from their past with each other.
Huh.
They started kind of opening up.
Wait, men or women age range?
I can tell you a mixture of men and women. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. And the general tone of their conversations as the days went on took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. It got weird. I mean, it's trauma bonding if I ever heard of it. Like, I'd be telling you my whole life story if we had nothing to do.
30 days.
After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were. And they started to develop severe paranoia.
I would too.
Right? So whatever reason got them in this situation, they were letting it out. Then, after 5 days, you want to know what happened?
Somebody died.
They stopped talking to each other completely.
Okay.
And began whispering into the microphones.
Just like that, or actual words?
Actual words.
Okay.
But oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over the other subjects in captivity with them.
How would you turn them over? They're already in jail.
Exactly. The researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself.
Oh.
Okay. Just this odd thinking, not communicating with each other, and feeling like they needed to rat each other out, like it was all a competition or something. And this was after...
Like Big Brother. Have you ever watched that show?
Yeah.
So stupid.
Vote for me. Wait, what did they say? Vote me out of the house? Head of household. Head of household.
Yeah.
Okay.
HOH.
I want to be HOH. After... Oh, I lost my place.
Typical.
So that was... After 9 days, the first of them just started screaming.
Oh, God.
He ran the length of the room and repeatedly yelled at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. 3 hours.
I hope this is a movie.
After this amount of time, he continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce squeaking sounds. Because it's been 3 hours of constant screaming, and the researchers assumed that he physically had torn his vocal cords.
Lost his voice. After 3 hours. After 3 hours.
I mean, constant screaming. Stop. I know. I was waiting for that one. Oh my God. 3 hours straight.
I'm surprised the other ones didn't try to kill him.
Well,
I'll be honest.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
The most surprising thing about this behavior,
surprise.
to your point, is how the other captives reacted to his constant screaming. Being that there was zero reaction. They did not react to his screaming.
This is normal.
He ran the length of this room, back and forth, screaming, and they just did nothing. You know what they did as he was screaming? Continued whispering into the microphones until a second person started screaming. Now we just have this chorus of screams.
There's 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 of 3. Or 2 of 3.
Yeah.
2 out of 5.
2 out of 3. You got it. Good job.
I have your math skills.
Then the 2 non-screaming, then 2 non-screaming captives started to take the books apart.
Oh.
Okay.
It's like an insane asylum.
And smeared page after page with their own feces.
Oh, God.
And used their feces as a form of paste and calmly pasted the books covered in poo over the glass portholes that were being used to watch them.
Okay.
So now you can't see us anymore, bitches.
Well, you can see our poo.
You can see our poo smeared on these fucking books.
That's disgusting. That's and the smell.
I mean, why did Becky have to come over and save us today?
Stop.
I don't
can
want to
still
think of
smell
this.
it.
Joanna pooped her pants.
I did not. Yeah, I'm wearing toddler underwear.
Listen, moms, dads, you guys who are parents, you know it happens. No judgment. It happened to my girls one time at the beach.
Oh,
My daughter, yeah, yes.
Okay.
And it was a beach that had no public restroom nearby.
Oh,
And if you're turning us off at this news,
sorry.
I'm sorry. But welcome back. Come back
So
in like
off
30
task.
seconds.
That's-
And I had to improvise, and it was a horrible experience. So that is nothing compared to 2 seconds of, Becky, we need you. Neighbor Becky.
Neighbor Becky.
After they covered the portholes with poop paste, books, pages, poop pasted book pages, put that on a shirt. After they did this and the researchers couldn't watch them anymore, the screaming completely stopped. The whispering completely stopped. It all just stopped. Then 3 days passed with 0 sounds at all.
Can they see inside the
They can't see inside because because this is in the 40s. They didn't have like live TV footage that they could wire. They just had the microphone sounds, the sounds from the microphones that they could hear live. And they covered up the windows.
They didn't want to crack the door.
There's gas in there.
Well, turn it off for a second.
Well, let me keep going.
Okay.
3 days, no sound.
Hold your breath.
The researchers checked the microphones every hour to make sure that they were working because they were thinking, what the fuck?
3 days.
3 days, no sounds. Since they thought it would be impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside the room.
Yeah.
0 sounds. The oxygen consumption in the chamber, because they were able to check that, indicated that all 5 were still alive. They were able to monitor how much was being breathed in and then use that to make that determination. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of exercise.
So
That's how I think it too, right? Like they're sitting there like strenuous exercise. They're breathing like that.
Okay.
Whew, it makes me take a deep breath. Since there was no sound at all coming through and the researchers couldn't see into the room, on the 14th day, they felt like they needed to try and get a reaction from the captives.
Because the poop is now hardened.
They can't see through the windows, yeah. They used the intercom system inside the chamber, hoping to get any response from the captives. They were assuming that they were either dead physically or at least like brain dead or unconscious.
Because you haven't slept.
You haven't slept 14 days. So they announced, quote.
Oh, and I quote.
We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot.
Oh.
Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom.
Heck yeah, man.
End quote. Before they could even open the door to check on the group, they heard in a calm voice one of the people say, "We no longer want to be freed."
What?
That's it.
Whoa. As a group, that one person?
One person. We no longer want to be freed.
Like you say it. No, you say it.
Well, yeah, seriously. This freaked the researchers out so much. They spoke with the military forces funding this project and decided that since they couldn't get the captives to respond to any other way, they couldn't really collect the data that the whole purpose of this experiment was. So it was time to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day.
Okay. What was the hypothesis behind this? Like the scientific, like...
Well, they were testing a gas stimulant.
To see if so like the military could stay awake?
That's how I would see it too.
How would they do that? If I'm in the military,
like if you're in the field,
in the field, like do I just have like a fish tank, fish bowl on my head,
like
pumping,
like a gas mask? Probably that's what I would assume.
Okay.
To do this, so they wanted to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. They had to flush out the stimulant gas that was keeping them awake, and then they had to fill it with fresh air.
Of course. Which
makes sense. Like experiment over. Immediately, when the stimulant gases began to recede, voices from the microphones began to call out. 3 different voices began begging, pleading for the gas to be turned back on.
I hope this is a movie.
This being the Russian military, they didn't take orders from no criminals. They opened that bitch and soldiers were sent inside to retrieve the quote-unquote test subjects.
Yes. Oh gosh, why do you do things like that?
Because it's freaking weird. When the soldiers entered, the group began to scream and shout louder than ever, all except that one who's got no fucking
has
vocal
no voice
cords.
anymore. Yeah.
Screams were also heard by the soldiers when they went in,
Probably
due to what they saw when they entered the
I was gonna
chamber.
say that. Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
4 of the 5 subjects were still alive.
Oh no.
Although alive was like a relative
Yeah.
term here, and you're about to see why. The food rations past day 5 had been barely touched.
Oh,
So what were they eating?
their poo.
They found chunks of meat from the dead test subjects'
Yeah.
thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain on the floor and allowing 4 inches of water to rise up on the floor. And it wasn't just water.
Poo and
It was
urine.
also blood.
Oh.
They used the chunks from his thighs to stop the if this is when you're gagging.
Is it gonna only get worse?
All 4 surviving test subjects, all 5 surviving, 4 surviving,
4.
yeah, also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. And it was obvious that they had used their hands and fingers to break away their skin and muscle, not their teeth.
So, wait, they were. Oh gosh.
They figured this out because the captives had exposed bone on their fingertips.
What?
And it was realized that each person self-inflicted this harm.
So they were going crazy.
Yes, ma'am. They
After
were ripping out their own skin and muscles.
After how many days, I wonder? 5.
After 5 days is when things started getting weird. Now, this is where I just can't even, okay?
No.
So, the abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 people had been removed.
Wait. Say it again?
The abdominal organs, Joanna's we're touching our like rib cage below the rib cage. What organs are even there?
Your intestines.
Okay. They had been
Your stomach.
removed. They were still alive. Looking at their bodies,
I'm really hoping this isn't a movie.
they had removed the skin from their chest as well.
Oh my gosh.
The heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place, but the skin and most of the muscles attached on their chest to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing their lungs through their rib cages.
You should have trigger warning people.
Oh, trigger warning.
Too late.
All their blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been, now back to the organs in their abdomen, they had been taken out of their bodies and laid on the floor
How
near
are they
them,
still alive?
fanned out. So they've got their stomach, their intestines out of their stomach laying around them.
All the 4.
All 4, all of them. It was realized as well that they weren't eating the food rations and they weren't eating their poop, Joanna. They were eating themselves. Joanna, stop gagging. Joanna, are you going to throw up? Joanna, stop.
I can't. That's just so. I'm just. Oh,
Stop.
imagining the smell.
Well, now you can see why the soldiers started screaming when they walked in.
My eyes
Are you
watering.
crying?
My eyes are watering.
God.
This should do not. Can you put a warning
For
at the
who?
bottom of this? Do not be eating. You should not be eating.
I'm so nervous.
My stomach is like turning.
Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at this facility, but still, even with all their training and all the crazy shit that they've seen in their past, many of them refused to return to the chamber to remove the people. They said, nope, not a fucking chance.
Okay, but when they, oh gosh, could you imagine, were they sitting at their bed? Did they just look at them like, what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, what are you going to do? I like your laugh. The captives throughout this, so back to the soldiers went in to retrieve them, this is what they saw. The captives throughout this continued to scream to be left in the chamber and begged for the gas to be turned back on. They screamed that they didn't want to fall asleep.
I wonder if they felt no pain.
Yeah.
Because if it's silent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they're beyond pain at this point. They were obviously...
Wait, maybe,
What?
sorry, maybe that's why he was, no, because you said he was running back and forth. I'm wondering if the screaming was...
when they were
but you
ripping
said
apart their organs.
Yeah, but you said
or
the
whatever.
one guy was walking back and forth.
Running back and forth screaming.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, maybe he was doing that because they were and then a second person started to scream.
Yeah.
That's a good point. They were obviously removed from the chamber, but fought as much as their frail bodies would allow them to. They fought so fiercely that one of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out.
What? How do you have that much strength?
I have no idea.
That gas.
Eating those thigh muscles.
The muscle you're eating is giving you muscle.
The soldiers were so affected that more than one of them later committed suicide
More
after
than
this
one.
event.
So 2?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Which is
Terrible.
terrible. In this struggle trying to get them out of the chamber, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and he bled out immediately. The doctors tried to sedate him but couldn't.
Oh gosh.
He could not be put to sleep. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of something similar to morphine and nothing. It had no effect on him. He eventually completely bled out and eventually died. The surviving 3 test subjects now were heavily restrained because, someone had just died. They killed one of
and all their
soldiers.
intestines are out.
Yeah, it's almost like they have massive strength. And how? They've been moved to the medical facility in the building. 2 of the 3 only had vocal cords that were still intact because remember the one that was screaming is still alive. They continuously begged for the gas and demanded to be kept awake. They begged for it.
So weird.
It's so weird.
That gas must have messed with them big time, Abby.
I know. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back inside his body, it was found that he was immune to the sedative that they had given him to prepare him for the surgery.
Interesting.
He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthesia was brought out to put him under. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under. And the instant his eyelids closed, his heart stopped and
I was going to say his
Yep.
organs stopped. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
that's crazy.
During his autopsy, it was found that his blood had triple the amount of normal oxygen levels.
Holy cow.
His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued.
It just hurts.
I don't like it.
I don't either.
The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords were completely destroyed, so he wasn't able to beg or object to any surgery. He couldn't make... He just kept shaking he kept shaking his head violently when the anesthesia was brought near him. So being that the former subject had just died when they put him under, one of the doctors suggested they try the surgery without anesthetic, and he nodded his head yes.
Stop. Oh, gosh.
They went on to perform a 6-hour surgery on him, and he did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure.
What kind of gas was
Of
this?
fucking
Dang.
the whole gas of replacing his organs and trying to cover them with his remaining skin. He did not react for 6 hours.
That's crazy.
When the surgery ended, the subject kept trying to communicate with the doctor. He couldn't talk or really make any other noise than like a wheezing sound.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave him a paper to write it out, and he wrote, "Keep cutting."
Carmen.
So scary. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgeries, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the operation because the surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation due to the patient's continuous laughing.
Oh, what?
Yep. He had to paralyze them. So they're awake, they're conscious, but they can't move.
That's insane.
Once they were paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the doctors and researchers with their eyes, After the surgery, the paralytic they were given cleared their systems in an abnormally short period of time. And as quickly as possible, they were found trying to escape their bindings.
Yes.
Whatever. The moment they could speak again, they were asked for the stimulant gas.
God.
They asked for the stimulant gas again.
That's crazy.
Later, the researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their guts, why they wanted to be given the gas again. The only response they got, "I must remain awake."
Why?
Exactly. Why? It's freaky. So eventually the researchers and military personnel began to disagree on what to do next. It was decided, though, that they be put back in the chamber.
Gosh.
That's what they were begging for. I mean, at this point, why not? I guess for the sake of science and to see what kind of fuckery would come. Like, what are you going to do? That's what they want?
They can't go back to society. I mean, they're prisoners or jail.
All 3 subjects' restraints were put back on after their surgeries, and they were going to put them back in the chamber. This all happened very quickly. Obviously, they have restraints on because of what happened when they tried to get them out the first time. The researchers honestly were at a loss of what to do here. They couldn't determine what the best outcome would be. Their project was an epic failure at this point. But like I said, they wanted to see what would happen. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, which is naughty. If you watch, it always reminds me.
The Office.
I was going to say Stranger Things, The Office.
There's a joke when he knocks on the door, and it's the KGB, and then Jim slaps Dwight in the face. And the KGB will wait for no one. Molly will know.
Molly. All right.
Molly will know.
I think many people will know.
Yes.
The commanding officer, who was an ex-KGB, made the order to put them back and wanted to see what the outcome would be if they were put back on the gas. I mean, whatever. The researchers strongly objected, but obviously were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement.
Oh, gosh. Could you imagine just being stuck in your bed? Like
Well,
that?
who knew how long? They didn't know how long this was going to go on for, so.
Just put oven mitts on their hands.
Oven mitts on their hands. All three stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going to go back into the chamber with the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all three were putting up on a great struggle to stay awake because, it's been however long since they've been taken out of the chamber. This is how they kept trying to stay awake because they would not let themselves fall asleep. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bindings with all his might, just constantly back and forth, focusing on his leg movement. The third subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. So these are kind of the awkward things they were doing.
Wouldn't you just eventually fall asleep?
I know.
When people count sheep.
Well, now they had the EEG monitors on. They saw, looking at this third subject, that the readings were normal most of the time, the one who was blinking rapidly, but sometimes the readings would flatline inexplicably. So to what you're saying, isn't your body just going to shut down?
Yeah.
It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death and then coming back, brain death coming back, before returning to normal. Then one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brain waves immediately changed to that of a deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time, and his heart simultaneously stopped. Dead.
Okay. Well, they're in the chamber with or without gas?
They're about to be put back in the chamber with the gas.
Okay.
This is what's happening. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. They just saw this person fall asleep and die. Put me in. His brainwave showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects left still inside, as well as the commander wanted 3 researchers to go in with them.
With or without masks?
Well, I assume with masks, so they wouldn't. But they had heavy bonding at this point, so they wouldn't be able to hurt the researchers, right? These 2 last people.
You would think.
How do you think the 3 unlucky researchers responded to being told?
Heck no.
One of them, who found out he was ordered to go in the chamber, immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank.
Stop.
Between the eyes. Then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. At this point, panic ensued and his coworkers fled, hiding behind, wherever they could hide because he was shooting people. He then pointed his gun at the remaining subject who was still restrained to a bed. And he said, quote, "I won't be locked in here with these things, not with you. What are you? I must know."
Yeah.
The man wielding the gun.
Yeah.
The subject smiled, the final one alive. And then, in the most creepiest of things to say when someone has been awake for weeks, is completely delusional and is scared of sleeping, thinking it will kill him, stated. I'm going to read you what he said.
Okay.
"Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds at night. We are what you...
Sorry.
We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread."
What? That's pretty deep.
That is pretty deep for someone who's been through this.
Yeah.
The researcher shot him dead immediately, and the subject's last words were, "So nearly free." So, Joanna, stop rubbing your eyes. Is this story true or not?
I mean, Russia does crazy stuff. I'm going to say true.
You want to say true?
But I want, again, I wanted it to be a movie, but then all that stuff with the poo.
The poo?
The
organs?
The organs. True.
You say true?
Yeah.
All right. Joanna,
Am I wrong?
don't be mad at me, please. This one's a little different.
What
What does that mean? Please don't be mad at me, listeners. I switched it up a little bit. First of all, this story is complete fiction. Do you need a hug?
No.
I don't want to touch you. Don't touch me.
No, I'm like sweating. I was literally sweating this entire episode.
It's completely fiction. It's a Russian urban legend, and it is not a movie.
Dang it.
But it is a written story.
You suck.
It is, yeah. It's a story I found on a website. And say it with me if you know, listeners. Creepypasta.
What does that mean?
I knew you weren't going to know. Hold on. The reason I say please don't be mad is because it's not a movie plot, which is the premise of our show. So I felt a little guilty, but it is fiction.
Here's Carmen's address if you want to write some hate mail.
Hate mail.
It is.
It is fiction. And I felt like taking some artistic liberty this week.
Whatever.
I came across this story and I felt like it was too good not to share, Joanna. I wanted to give respect to the author and say first and foremost, and to those who may have read this story, because I know y'all have heard it, I changed a little bit of the dialogue and verbiage in the story to fit.
Well, as urban tales do.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. To fit my style of speech and storytelling so I wouldn't give it away. I can't believe you thought it was real. I thought it was real too when I heard it the first time. I really did.
I mean, because Russia does some crazy stuff.
I know. But to credit the person who wrote the story originally, I stuck very close to the actual text, as close as I could. But I did change some things. I will link it if you'd like to check it out and read it for yourself, which I think you should. Not you,
No,
Joanna.
I've already heard it.
You, the listeners. If you want to read the actual story.
So who wrote it?
Well, let's talk a little more about this urban legend. So is it real or is it not? It's an urban legend.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah, but some urban legends. Did you ever see that movie, Urban Legend?
Yes. Hello.
The lights. Remember, like, oh, you're not supposed to flash your lights. I still flash my lights.
I do too. The one that creeps me out the most is the person in your backseat.
Mm-hmm. And then that guy's trying to tell her.
Oh, the gas station attendant?
Mm-hmm.
I was driving not that long ago, and I was in my car. It's night, and something hit me. Something hit me in my car. I'm like, what the fuck? And I looked down, and there was like a screw on my lap.
Was your window open?
No. So I thought, is someone in my car? And then is someone in my car? Like I yelled it, and then I slammed on the brakes.
There?
And then I slammed on the brakes. I have an SUV where the third row is down, so it's like open trunk space.
Did you hear
So I was
a
like,
thud?
if I slam on my right. No, I didn't hear a thud. I heard my daughter's soccer ball like rolling around. And then I told Brett when I got home, he was like, what the fuck? Anyway, this story is widely considered the best creepypasta written. And if you don't know what a creepypasta is, it's the term for horror stories and legends that have been shared around the internet.
Never heard of it.
I know. And if you want to get scared and freaked out, this is where you go. The stories are meant to be scary and can oftentimes have an anonymous writer, and they're usually very gruesome and freaky. Do you remember the whole Slender Man thing?
Vaguely.
That was a creepypasta. It started out as a story on the internet.
What's the original date for this story?
In the
where?
early 2000s. I was going to say this later, but I can mention it now. I couldn't track down the original author because some people have adapted it into short films or other novels or been inspired by it, but I couldn't figure out who originally wrote it.
So what's the title of that story?
The Russian Sleep Experiment.
Oh, that's lame.
It's one of the best, noted as like one of the best creepypastas of all time
I know,
because it sounds real. That's what's scary.
The title is
Like
so
it's like our Florida Man.
So basic, yeah.
It's like the
and many people die. Everybody dies.
Yeah. There's been debate about whether or not this story is true. But based on actual science, it's not likely. There's an example. Here's an example. CCTV was invented before the 1940s, like street cams with the blurry images and stuff. Whatever. So why couldn't they have cameras in the chamber?
What year?
40s.
Well, that was Russia. I feel like
well, here's the thing.
Who's behind on the times?
Here's the counter thought. Not really. Hello. They were like really high in technology.
Okay.
Rocket ships.
Spaceships.
The space race. Sputnik.
Space race.
Sputnik. But how good was CCTV back then? Could they watch live footage in the 40s as it was happening? Was it blurry? Could they really even see? Okay, I'm telling you like why people argue that it could have really happened.
Got it.
Could they live stream? Whatever. And then other debates that pop up, like if you research the topic, whether or not an actual gas has ever even existed that could keep a person awake for that long.
Probably.
No, it's impossible. From what I've looked up, it's impossible.
You're not a scientist.
Well, I am a mathematician. Along with the hallucinations you would have if you were to be awake for 2 weeks would make menial tasks and communication not realistic. They wouldn't be able to communicate the way that they did if they were really awake that long. The fact that it could be true, though, is what makes it scary.
Mm-hmm.
I know thinking about the actual history and scientific fact in our logical brain makes us say, like, no.
No.
But when you're listening to it or reading it, you have that moment when you're like, wait, what?
Well, because like I said, Russia, prisoners, they don't, I feel like once you're a prisoner in different countries, like your life no longer matters.
I know.
And you become the test subject.
Wait. What if have you never seen that movie Broken Down Palette? With Claire
Danes.
They weren't guilty.
People who kill, like the pedophiles. They should be test subjects.
They should be sent to Russian prison.
Well, that one girl is there. Did you see that? That basketball player who brought over a vape?
What?
Yeah, she was this basketball player.
She doesn't deserve that then.
She brought over an illegal drug over to Russia, and it's illegal there, and she's spending 10 years in prison, and now she's moved to, like, it's not a concentration camp, but it's, like, she's not in the prison anymore. She's, like, doing some hard labor.
Wow.
For 10 years.
She can't be brought back to the U.S.?
There's a lot of political things behind it, but...
Yeah.
I feel like drugs, like, you don't...
What about the guy who did fentanyl in a porta potty?
Jail.
See,
immediately jail.
This is the thing with this kind of topic is you can really argue any side.
Yeah.
That's why it's...
Because you're still doing something illegal, and you shouldn't have been doing it.
So how is carrying a vape, it's not the same.
But in Russia, it was illegal to have it.
And they give 0.
They don't care.
FUCKs.
They do not care.
All right. I get what you're saying. You're saying basically that you don't know what you're saying.
I know something about a little something.
And you know a lot about a little?
A lot about a little.
But it's hard to form opinions on this kind of stuff because
is.
it's just...
Because where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line? That's the hard part. And that movie with Claire Danes, I watched it recently as an adult, and it was still so sad.
Made me cry. When she was left in the prison.
Oh.
And then what about the thing in her ear?
The infection? And then she went...
bug.
Yeah. Okay. So I think 2 films came out about this movie, but nothing like blockbuster. They were low budget, and I haven't seen either. Yeah, I think one's like 30 minutes. I couldn't find the author, as I said. So to our lovely listeners, if you know who the original author is, share it. I'll update the episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do a latest update because I'd love to give them credit. But that's what makes these horror legends so interesting. It's more mysterious. When I was reading the story on the Creepypasta website, I was looking at the comments under the story. And I'm going to read you one of the comments that I thought was hilarious because people are debating under the story. There's a whole comment section. Yeah. This is what someone said. Here's something interesting. There was an actual human experimentation camp that was set up during World War II for biological and chemical warfare research. Subjects were forced to take part in gruesome experiments way more horrific than this work of fiction. Some of the experiments, I don't know why I'm laughing, you'll find out. Some of the experiments had no kind of contribution to the study and were simply conducted for sadistic reasons. I'd tell you the name, but when I first heard about it and researched it myself, I was traumatized for a bit. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And then the comment underneath it said, tell us the name. Oh. What's the name?
Tell us. We need to know.
I want to look it up.
The people need to know.
So that's my story for you.
That was good.
That's it.
I mean, I wouldn't have watched it.
If it was a movie?
But the last one you said was a movie, The Witch.
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But it was also on HBO, and I don't have HBO anymore.
Well, there's a reason for everything. So that's my story for you guys. Let us know what you think, and let us know if you forgive me for it not being a movie plot.
And if you want her address, just let me know.
No hate mail.
We'll get her a P.O. box so you can start sending her some hate mail, stink bombs.
Whatever. You can find us on Instagram at Live, Laugh, Murder Podcast. You can Gmail us your love mail, not hate mail. livelaughmurderpod@gmail.com.
Love mail.
Send me your love mail, please. And yeah, that's about it, guys.
13 was your cuss count.
I always forget that you're going to do that.
You don't see, I literally have a pen and paper, and every time you cuss, I put my hand down. I try to be discreet.
I know. I don't pay attention to you.
Good.
On that note, remember to say it, Joanna.
Live, laugh, but do not and never murder.
Never. And don't stay awake for longer
15
than
hours.
15 days.
15. I did what you did.
Oh, you did what I did.
11 hours.
Okay. Anyway, we love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
And you can talk in the microphone.
Did you do it?
All right, Joe, and I'll get you a second one.
Hello. Whoa, 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 whoa,
I'm
whoa.
gonna puke.
Oh my God, Mom is going crazy. And she said she's gonna puke. And then she said she's crazy. Now she's crazy. Look out, look out.
We're gonna double back.
Mom is crazy. She's super bad. Oh my God, I'm gonna puke. She's saying she will throw up. She just say it right now. She's gonna puke. Bleh.
Thanks again for listening to True Crime by Indie Drop-In Network. If you would like to nominate a true crime podcast to be featured, just send me a tweet at Indie Drop-In. I'd also love to hear if one of our featured podcasts is now your favorite show. Indie Drop-In survives off ad revenue and listener donations. If you would like to contribute, please consider buying me a coffee. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Indie Drop-In. If you look at the very bottom of the episode description, I put a link in there to make it really easy. Indie Drop-In has many other shows that you also might like. Just go to indiedropin.com. All right, see you next week.